Hi, hello, vanakkam, and welcome back to yet another episode on your favorite Little Law YouTube channel. So today in this video, you're going to see day two of your Kubernetes learning, Kubernetes tutorial from end to end. So in this video, we'll see the very basics of how to begin your uh, Kubernetes, the mini cube, and how to open the dashboard, and we'll see how to create a deployment. And also, we'll see the deployment. We'll use various other Kubernetes commands. So this will definitely help you to learn more about how to use Kubernetes. And if you're someone who is someone venturing into DevOps, or if you're someone who is venturing into SRE, this video will definitely help you to learn more about Kubernetes and how to use it and why to use it. So before we move on to this video, this is me, Asan Shanmugam. I welcome you all to our Little Slaw YouTube channel. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you haven't subscribed it yet, and please to join my channel for more quality content like this. Give me a support by joining my channel, and if you really like the video, give a thumbs up and share the video with your friends. So the first part of the cube, the mini cube. So I'm going to use mini cube for this example. So whatever we do in this set of videos, I'm going to use mini cube as my Kubernetes container. So the first step is we need to install the kubectl, and I have you should have your Docker which is running. So in my previous video, I have started my minikube, and then at the end I have stopped it. So which means I have the minikube running, the minikube container which is running in my Docker. So make sure you have your minikube running in your container. And now the current status of it is exited, so which is it's not running. And the first step of it is I'm going to start the uh, my container. So minikube start will start my container. So since I have started it, I'm actually restarting my existing Docker container. So if you go back to the Docker containers, previously it was exited, and now you can see it is running, right? So this is how you have to start your mini cube or your container running. So in case if you're someone who is already working in the container environment, and if you find that particular service is not running, or that particular container is not running, just use the Docker name, and then the name of this Docker, and then when you do a start, automatically it will, the status of it will change to running state. So now if you see, it's the Kubernetes is getting prepared for running, and it's verifying the Kubernetes components, whatever components it has. So now you can see it's done. The kubectl is now configured to use minikube cluster and the default namespace by default. So that's the very first step, and we have successfully completed it. And now the second step of it is we're going to launch the browser. So to launch a browser, we have two options. One is if we can paste the URL, copy and paste, or else we can launch the browser using the command. So I'm going to use minikube dashboard. So this will launch the browser command. So if you see here, so this is the command. I mean, the 12701 is my local host, and 53995 is the port number that has been used for Kubernetes. And if you see here, we have got the default one which has no namespaces, no pods. So when we create a pod, automatically you can see that in the default section. But for now, if I go to the all namespaces, you can find all the pods. You can find the replica sets as well, replication containers, stateful sets, cron jobs if we have, or if you can configure some cron jobs, you can very well see that it is getting reflected here. But for now, we do not have anything in the default section or in the cube node list, so there is nothing. We have to create one for our own work or for learning. So that's the first step. So what did we do now is I have executed a where am I? Yep, I have executed the proxy. I did a mini cube dashboard, so I will not be able to use it anymore. This particular browser, sorry, the particular partial. So I'll open another partial for me. Using that, we will work on the other commands. So I have another partial window here. I believe you can see the screen now. And yep, moving to the next step. So I have launched the dashboard, and now we'll create a deployment. So a Kubernetes pod, which we know. So I can show it to you here in the screen. Yeah, so the parts here. So if you see in the all namespaces, you can see these parts, right? So these parts is a group of one or more containers. If I open it, you can see it contains a container. It contains one or more containers. If you see here, right? So it contains this particular container. Or if you go here, so this parts is actually, it's a group of one or more containers which is tied together for the purpose of administration and networking. So the pod in this tutorial, which we are going to create now, has only one container, and a Kubernetes deployment will check on the health of the pod that we are creating and it will restart the pod's container if it terminates. And there are two ways, I mean, there are like several ways to create it. Uh, for that, so the first step is I'm going to use, where am I? Partial window. Yep. So the first option which I'm going to use is I'm going to use kubectl create. So this will create a deployment that manages the pod. So the pod runs a container based on the provided Docker image. So I'm going to use the following Docker image. So I'm going to create a pod, right? So you're clear with that, I believe. So I'm going to use the kubectl create command to create a deployment that manages the pod. So I'm going to create a deployment that manages the pod, and then this. I mean, like you can create any of the deployment. It's not only hello node. It can you can create any other node. In fact, I'll show you how to create another node as well. So image equal to. Let me get that command for you. Yeah, so this is the image which you're going to use to manage the pod. So sorry, image equals registry.k8s.io/e2e minus test image. So this is a test image slash okay. Oh, come on. Okay, let me type this way. I think. Let me get that command for you. So again, you might have a question that why should I use this particular deployment to create the pod, because this has a web server in it. So I'm going to run kubectl create deployment hello node image equals registry.k8s. So it's kubernetes.io/e2e minus test minus images slash agn host colon 2.39. I'm typing it minus minus slash agn host net exec http minus port equals 8080. So now if you see, yeah, so this is what I typed. So just for you to know, I've typed the kubectl create deployment hello node is the node which I wanted to create, and I'm using the image which is registry.k8s.io and e2e test images, and then the host is 2.39 the version, and then I'm using the port, the http port, which is 8080. So once I created it, automatically the deployment.apps hello node has got created. So that's the first step which I used to create the deployment for the container. So I believe you must have understand so far what did I do. So I'm using the kubectl create command to create a deployment. This is the deployment to manage the pod. So if I go back to the screen now, and if I go to default, so previously, if you remember, we do not have any pods or anything that's running. So now if you see, I've got the hello node that is running. So the hello node pod is running in our machine. So I have just got one pod which is running and which is available. It's running fine. So I have one new replica set. And going back to the pods, if you see, I have got one pod, right? So and that is running as well. And going to the jobs, I have no jobs. I have one replica set, which is the one that I have created. And yeah, so that's the only thing which I've created. No jobs. I have one deployment, so I created one deployment, right? So this is a deployment which I've created, and max surge is 25%, and the max available is 25%. So this is what I am running in my machine, and there are no daemon sets, no cron jobs yet. So just one pod, just one single pod. And now going back to the partial window. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to view the deployment. So I did create it. I can see it in the dashboard, but what if I can what the command to see that here? So kubectl get deployments. So this will show my deployment which I have created, the hello node. One out of one is ready. It's up to date and it's available, and its age is 115 seconds, which is like almost close to 2 minutes. So the next is I saw the deployment. So now I need to see the pod. So kubectl get pods will show the pod name. So this is the pod name of the pod. So this will change actually. This particular section will change every time it's a dynamic value, and that will change every time when you create and when you deploy it. And then the next is so far we saw the deployments and then we saw the pods, and now kubectl get events. So this will get me the event. So if you see here, you can see the events that I have did for this particular pod. So uh, previously it started this way. It started killing it, and then there was something that's scheduled, and then I have pulled it. I have created it before 2 minutes, and then I have started it, and I have successfully created it. I did a scaling replica set starting. Node has sufficient memory. Node has node disk pressure. Node has sufficient process ID. Node allocation allocatable for enforced. And it is starting and then register node. So these are the actions. These are the events which did happen for this particular hello node at this for this particular kubectl events, right? And now the next part is we are going to view the kubectl configuration, and for that I'm going to use kubectl config view. So this will show me the configuration for this kubectl, where I can see the certificate part, the CRT thing, and then the context of this particular kubectl, the deployment, the pod, and everything. And then the next part is kubectl logs. And then since I have copied, do you remember in this step, I've copied the pod name. So I'm going to view the logs for this particular kubectl. So I'm going to use kubectl log and then minus, enter. So this will give me the, kubectl logs. It's not log, it's logs. So this had showed me the log. So it has started, the port number 880 had started a few seconds back, and then UDP server, same, it has started a few seconds back. So this is the output that we get when you want to see the log of this particular deployment or this particular pod. Okay, so now the next part is I'm going to create a service for this particular pod. Why do I need to create a service? Because by default, the pod is only accessible by its internal IP address, which we see here, that 127.7. So it is only accessible by its internal IP address within the Kubernetes cluster. So to make the Hello Node container accessible from outside the Kubernetes virtual network, we have to expose the pod as a Kubernetes service. And this will have to be done every time when you create a pod. So for that, I'm going to use the command which is kubectl expose deployment, and the node is hello node. Type is load balancing. So I'm going to use a load balancer for this part to expose it. So the type is equal to load balancer, and the port number is 8080. So that's a HTTP port. So this type equal to load balancer indicates that I want to expose my service, which is the hello node service, outside of the cluster, which is to the external world. And the application code inside the test image will listen on the TCP port 8080, which is the HTTP port, which basically now is the TCP port. And if I used kubectl expose, which I'm using it now here, will expose a different port, and clients um, could not connect to that other report. So that's the reason I'm using the kubectl expose deployment and then the hello node, whatever node which I want to expose, and the type equal to load balancer and the port equal to 8080. So this will create. So now you can see the X service hello node has been exposed to the external node, which is outside to the from my current internal services load. And now I have to view the services. So I'm going to use kubectl get services. So now I can see the services, the hello node, the original one, which is the cluster IP with my local machine, and then I have got the hello node load balancer, and the cluster IP is different, and then the external IP is pending because I do not have set up the DNS part. So it's let shows pending, but still the port number is 8080.3.3.30.359 TCP is the port number. So on cloud providers which supports the load balancers, an external IP address would be provisioned to access the service. On Minikube, the load balancer type makes the service accessible through the Minikube service command. So now I'm going to run my next command, which is Minikube service command. So this will open up the browser window which serves my app and shows the app's response. I'm going to run minikube service hello node. So this will open up. So if you see here, uh, it the moment I started running it, I could see it is opening the service default hello node in default browser. And because I'm using a Docker driver on Windows, the terminal needs to be open to run for it. And this is the browser that has opened up. So this is my local port, the local host, and it shows the time, at what time does it get loaded. So now let me open another partial window to continue with my training, and let me open it now. I'm going back to my training part. So far we did exposed we did created a service, we did exposed the part to the public internet, but still because of the DNS issue, we go with the international IP is pending, and then we got the services, whatever services we were running, and then we did run the command to open the browser window which serves the app's responses. And now the next part is there is one more interesting thing, which is Minikube add-ons list. So what is this Minikube add-ons list? So these Minikube includes a set of built-in add-ons that can be enabled or disabled and open in local Kubernetes environment. And here you can see by default we have got, so by default I would say like the dashboard, we have already enabled it, so it's enabled. And then we have got the default storage class that is also enabled because we are using it. And then we have got the storage provisioner that is also enabled. So apart from this, all the other add-ons were disabled because they were like third party, they were part of Minikube, they were part of Google, they were part of Kubernetes. So we can enable them. So it's very easy to enable them, and also we can use those services. So in this scenario, I'm going to enable an add-on. For example, it's going to be the metrics server, but that metrics server is disabled here. Now it's part of the Kubernetes. So I'm going to enable it by doing Minikube add-ons enable metrics server. So this will enable the metrics server add-on. So if I run my Minikube add-ons list, and you can see here, the metrics server add-on is enabled now. And why should I enable this? So by once I enable this, I can view the pod and the service which I created for this particular cube. So let me show you. So if I run cube ctl get pod, pod comma svc the service minus n cube minus system. Okay, so if you find this one, I think I gave a space here. Yeah. So yeah, now if you see, this shows the pods which are running for this kubectl part, and then the services which are running. So this will also give me the information about what are all the pods and services which I created by installing that add-on. So you can see the core DNS, the etcd, and then the Kube API server, the controller, the proxy, the scheduler, the metric server. So the metric server is just running. So if it shows it's not yet ready, and yeah, if it's not yet ready, we cannot see the next command. So which is, for example, if I run kubectl top pods. So if you see, this particular command will show me how much CPU and the memory that this particular pod is using in this machine. So this hello node is currently using 1 M of CPU core and 35 MI. It's just the size of this memory that's been used by the system. So it's in terms of like millibytes or like megabytes of memory that's been used. If I run it again, so it's almost the same because there's nothing that's running in this machine. So if I go back to that particular, if I enter something and let me, so I'm just trying to create some load, but still, yeah, it looks fine. And yep, coming to the next one. So yeah, so far I have enabled the metric server, and there's another option to disable it as well. So which is metrics, it's Minikube. Again, going back to add-ons and then disable, and then the metrics server. So this will disable any this command, the Minikube add-ons disable, and then add the add-ons which you want to disable it. So that will disable, and then if you want to enable it, just change it to enable and then add the add-on. That will enable the uh, add-on for you. And now, yeah, we're coming to the end of this video. So this is the first, I mean, day two, but still it's the very first basic thing. So in the next video, we'll see the cheat sheet, some of the very common uh, Kubernetes commands which you should know if you're someone who is using it regularly. So now I'm going to delete the hello node container, the command. So kubectl delete. First, I'm going to delete the service, the hello node service. So it's deleted. The hello node is deleted. And now kubectl delete. Now I'm going to delete the deployment, which is the same, the hello node. That is also deleted. And now I'm going to stop my minikube. I don't want it to keep running, so I'm stopping it. And if you're someone who wants to practice, keep on practicing it, there is another command which is minikube delete. Don't try that, because if you really want to try it again and again, just keep that minikube delete without running it. Because if you see, go back to the Docker, you can see it's exited, but I have not run minikube delete, because if I done it, then automatically this minikube will be deleted, and you want to recreate it from scratch again. So just keep it stopped, but not deleted, and you can keep practicing it. So that's one of my advice, because I do keep practicing it every time, because that keeps me up and running. So yeah, I believe you must have definitely enjoyed the video, and you must have learned a lot of information. So please do subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed it yet. Give a thumbs up and share the video with your friends. And until I meet you in my next videos, bye bye from us and your favorite Little Star YouTube channel. Take care and bye bye.